I've been wanting to do a vlog for a long time about my experience at Sasquatch, because that was just like one of the biggest firsts of my life, first time camping, sort of first concert ever. I've never been to a live, pop concert. I've been to like classical and stuff, but not like a concert with people dancing and stuff. And actually a lot of people were surprised that I went to Sasquatch. My friend Shannon said it was out of character for me to do that. Probably because, I'm against underage drinking and drugs and that sort of thing, and that's kind of, I guess a big part of music festivals. And this is sort of more like a diary / this is what happened vlog. It's not really like thought-provoking, I don't think, or advice on anything. I'm thinking about leaning my vlogs toward that. But, I really wanted to talk about this experience, and the main thing I learned from it is that it's really good to do things, that are outside of your comfort zone. I mean, safe things, of course. But things that you wouldn't normally think you would do. So there was some not so fun stuff, like me getting hit in the eye by a bottle that came out of nowhere, and my friend Katie's toes all getting smashed, and some of them, parts of them came off in a mosh pit. And then my friend Allie, she gave her flip-flop away to somebody, and so she spent the rest of the day with missing one shoe. And the last night, the tent got left open, and it rained a little bit the last day, so last night all of us were basically sleeping in a puddle, and it was really cold and just wet, and that wasn't very fun. But, overall the experience was so great because there were so many other, highs and so much great stuff. Meeting people, seeing the performances were so great. And, I crowd surfed for the first time, which was really cool. I almost chickened out a couple times, but I eventually did it during the Mumford Sons concert. I have, a really bad video that I can show. I'd have to point to myself. You might have to watch it twice to see me, because it was a night concert, and the camera's I'm already far away by the time the camera turned on and all that. But that was really cool, just to be floating on people, and I was really lucky. I didn't get felt up or anything, and I was wearing full jeans and tennis shoes and stuff. I didn't have to worry about getting hurt or anything. And then the guard just lifted me out. So I actually got really close to Mumford & Sons, and that was really cool. So I was right up next to the stage, in the walkway that's for the press, and the guard just lifted me out and had me walk out that way. So I got really close to them, and that was cool. And yeah, there were just so many great things about it that none of the bad stuff even mattered. And it wasn't even that bad, It was great. Oh, and another thing about the crowd surfing is, I was by the third day, I was this is my goal. I'm gonna crowd surf, and I was trying to decide which stage to do it on, because, all the 3 lower ones were grass, but you just kind of fell down. No one was there to lift you out, and then the main one was cement, but there were guards that helped you, out of it. So I was thinking about doing the grass ones, and then Mumford & Sons was on, and it was the end of the 3rd day, and I was this is it, I should really do it now. And I made some friends with the people next to me, one of which was a really tall guy, and I was hey guys, do you want to help me crowd surf? And they told everyone, in front of us, pass it on, she's gonna try to crowd surf up. And when the song was when the song picked up the pace, they held their hands out and step stools, 2 of my friends. So I just kind of stepped up and then just kind of fell back into everybody, and I actually fell forward, but then I had to roll around because I didn't want people feel in the front. So yeah, it was just really cool, and it was really interesting to see how that starts, because I had no idea what I was doing, but I was just ask for help, and they were sure, yeah, it's gonna be fun, just make sure no one, feels you up or anything, and don't have anything valuable in your pockets. So, things that you wouldn't normally think about with the spur of the moment sort of thing. You come down. excited for Sigur Ros, Mumford Sons, and Imagine Dragons. So I'll probably talk about their performances the most. But overall, I mean, it was just a great experience. Almost every concert, you know, I made friends with the people standing next to me, and our neighbors were so nice. It's just, I've never been around that many people before in like that sort of setting. I mean, in the mosh pit, we were like all right next to each other, like you were always touching someone else, standing just really close. As far as the performances went, something I really noticed, I guess kind of as a performer myself, was how little or how much people talk to the audience. And I leaned a little bit more towards liking the ones who, you know, said something. I mean, everyone, you know, most of them at least said thank you and thanks for coming out, that sort of thing. But it was really nice to hear some people just, you know, say what was on their mind, you know, when they're performing. Because Sigur Ros is one of my favorite bands. It might actually be Sigur Ros, but I say Sigur Ros. Besides the point. Anyway, they're one of my favorite bands, and I was like a little bit disappointed that, you know, all of the main singer Jonsi said was, thanks for coming out tonight. Well, he's from Iceland, so he doesn't, I mean, he speaks English, but it's not like his first language and stuff, so I can understand how he wasn't, you know, more inclined to speak to us all, but, and I think something that was cool was that, you know, the music kind of spoke for the groups who didn't talk very much. But on the other hand, you know, Imagine Dragons, the lead singer of Imagine Dragons, he just seemed like a really nice, down-to-earth guy, and he was talking about, you know, today is not about us, today is about you, and we're just normal guys, we're just here performing our music because we love doing that, and we weren't even, you know, they've been a band for 4 years, and he talked about how, you know, this year they just really took off, and they've always just been fans of bands, and then all of a sudden they're this band that everyone is a fan of, or lots of people, and it was really interesting to hear him, you know, I don't want to say like rags to riches, but, you know, like watching the performances to being the performer that everyone's looking at, that he, at one point, you know, he was singing, and he just like looked down for the mic and just kind of like shook his head and smiling, and you could just feel his disbelief at being here and that experience, and because that was the main Sasquatch stage, and it was during the day, so we could see all up the hill, and it was just really beautiful. Speaking of the venue, I had no idea what to expect. You know, I know it's called the Gorge, but I hadn't seen any pictures before. But anyway, it was so beautiful. I'll probably put some pictures here. And there were 4 different stages, but the main one was just this giant hill, and then the stage, and past the stage was just this, the gorge, you know, where the Columbia River went through. And it was just really gorgeous out there. And that was kind of a tangent, but back to, you know, what bands or groups were saying during their performance. Mumford Sons said something along the lines of, you know, we haven't headlined a lot of tours before, or a lot of places before, and it's your fault. And that was funny. And he just, you know, he said something along the lines of, it's really effing nerve-wracking to be up here, and we just, you know, we were all screaming, we were like showing our support, and it was really nice to see some of the groups like seem more real people.
How you doing? You alright? Oh, cool. You're still here. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah. We haven't ever headlined that many festivals. This summer is quite a change for us, and it's fucking terrifying, if I can tell you that. It's fucking terrifying.
And Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, Macklemore did like a lot of talking, definitely the most of any group I saw there. And there's a side story that goes with my watching Macklemore that I'll talk about later in the vlog. But as far as, you know, talking during the performance went, You know, in between about almost every song, he would have a little thing to say, a little intro, and that was really cool. I learned a lot about his songs. You know, I guess I'll just tell the side story now. I always used to think that, you know, Macklemore was kind of overrated because I'm not really a rap person. It just, I'm just not into the, you know, the fact that so many raps, they're just about sexual intercourse and all that sort of stuff that, you know, and it's just kind of talking in a beat. But I got so much more respect for Macklemore and rap in general from his performance. And I was there with a friend of mine, and she explained to me what one of the songs was, like right when it was starting, and you know, a little bit in between I'd be like, oh, what did he mean by that? And it was, his songs were just really deep, and they were about real stuff, and it was really cool to see that many people supporting that kind of rap, and I just got a lot more respect for it in general. But anyway, even though I had lots of good concerts, I'm just going to talk about the main three, Sigur Ros, Mumford Sons, and Imagine Dragons. So I'm going to talk about Sigur Ros first, because, you know, they were the first group that I was really excited for that performed at Sasquatch. And also today I just watched a live streamed concert that they had, and so everything's all fresh in my mind about how amazing it was. So my friend Shannon, oh my gosh, what a good friend, because, you know, earlier in the day I was really pumped up for Sigur Ros, and the other two who were with us, or the other three who were with us, was like, oh, we haven't really heard of Sigur Ros, what are they like? I'm like, oh, they're awesome. And Shannon, who I had given all my Sigur Ros songs to, and she listened to them, and she was kind of like, oh, they're kind of like meh. But she stayed with me and went to the concert with me, and we went to the concert right before, which was the XX, and then like tried to get our way to the front, and ended up, you know, in like it's hard to tell in a mosh pit, but kind of like the first and a half row, because we were just really close to the fence, you know, where you couldn't go any further, and it was such a great view, and she stayed with me for the whole concert, even though I found out later she was feeling kind of sick, so props to you, Shannon. And oh my gosh, they were incredible. Like I said before, they're one of my favorite bands, and it was just beautiful to see the lead singer. So he bows the guitar, like with the bow that you'd see in an orchestra. He has his guitar, and then he just like bows it. I'll probably have a video somewhere that'll demonstrate that. And then the bassist, he might have been my favorite, even though I love Yonzi, the main singer. The bassist, he was the one who smiled. I noticed smiling. You know, he'd just be over there playing the bass, and then he'd just kind of look over, and then at times he'd just have a little grin on his face, and I really, really appreciated that. You know, you could tell he was enjoying it. And like, the lead singer was too. He was in a different way. He was really into it, you know, like deep into it, and he would close his eyes and just listen and just feel the music. And then the drummer was like intense into it, like just moving all over the place. And yeah, at the end of the concert, he threw a drumstick piece into the audience because he like broke off the front of it, which I almost caught. The guy next to me caught it, and I was like, so close, so close to having it. But no, I'm sure he's enjoying his piece of a drumstick. And yeah, so that was funny that he like drummed so hard that, you know, pieces were like flying off. And then they had three girls in the back who played violin and also did singing. And then on the other side they had some brass players, trumpets and trombones, I think. And they had another percussion guy who just did all the miscellaneous percussion, and then they would go around and do keyboards as well too. But their concert was really interesting because, you know, people were jumping up and down because some of their songs are pretty upbeat, but all their songs are really long, and then they're also really I don't know how to explain it. Their genre is called experimental rock. And it's just these, you know, some of their songs are just so sustained that you just stand still and listen. It's not one of those where people are jumping all over and shoving each other, no. You know, we would all just stand, and I saw people closing their eyes and people putting their hands up and really, like, getting into the music in a different kind of way than dancing, I guess. And that was really interesting to see. And I'm more of a fan of Sigur Ros. Like, I just think their music is absolutely beautiful. A lot of people, one guy said, you know, I had my Sigur Ros shirt on, so I had people come up to me and say, oh, Sigur Ros, here's what I think, you know. And this one guy was like, oh, listening to Sigur Ros is like going to church for me. It's so spiritual. And I got that from a lot of people. They're like, oh, his music is so spiritual. Their music is so spiritual. I've never really thought about it like that before. It is, but I'm more of a, it's just beautiful, you know. And something I notice now, you know, on the internet, all their music videos have like all these belief debates going on in the comments, and I've always seen that one that's like, guys, you know, you don't have to argue about this, just listen to the music. And the concert was just kind of like that. They just all just listen, and you know, you're thinking what you're thinking, but you're all just there in the moment, and that was really cool. So when Sigur Ros came back on for their encore, Jonsi, the main singer and guitarist, his earpieces, I don't think were connected, so he couldn't exactly hear right, and so he tried singing the first couple, you know, words, and then he stopped and just stood back and just eventually, you know, he would just like pull them out and was listening really closely to his guitar bowing, and it was interesting, like, to hear the song without the singing. And I knew the song, so I was singing a little bit in the audience, and some members were, but you know, even without him singing, even with the technical difficulties, like my friend Shannon said, he pulled it off, which is very true. And everybody else's stuff was working just fine, so that was good. And something I didn't say about the Sigur Ros performance is they had this big screen in the back that showed parts of their music videos and like lights and all this pretty stuff. And then all around the stage there was this sort of like halo of like light bulbs that went off at different times. I'll have a video to show about that sort of thing. It was really beautiful, and it fit their performance so well. You know, I don't think it would have worked with another band. Like, it just complemented them so beautifully, and oh, their concert right there. So Mumford Sons, I think, was on the third day, and we were all really tired, so we didn't get down there very early. So we were in the mosh pit, and we were pretty close, but, you know, not near as close as I was for Imagine Dragons and Sigur Ros, because I was like, you know, basically first and second, third. I was in like one of those rows for those concerts. And for Mumford Sons, we were like, I don't know, 10 rows back? I don't know. Well, I did crowd surf, so it was a ways back because I crowd surfed to the front. I don't know, but we could still see everything really great, and that was all of my friends were there at that concert, and so that was really fun. You know, we all knew the songs, we all loved them, we were bouncing up and down, and I made friends with the people next to me, who I hadn't known before. You know. They like kept trying to hit one of the balls that was bouncing around in the crowd and kept missing. Like, someone right next to them would bounce it away before they could touch it, and so that was funny, and they were really cool. And Mumford & Sons, like I said before, the lead singer was saying how nerve-wracking it is to perform up there, you know, in front of so many people. And something I found really interesting was you know, they said, oh, how are you doing up there on the hill? You know, the people up who are usually sitting down on the hill, they showed the lights on it, and we all turned around in the mosh pit, and they were all standing and dancing. And that was really cool to see, because a lot of, even the night performances, even the headliners, you know, a lot of them didn't have all the people on the hill standing. But Mumford & Sons, like, everyone was standing and dancing and getting really into it, and that was really amazing. I went up to the front, you know, crowd surfing in the middle of their set list, no, towards the end, but I got, you know, I walked out, and so there was like giant mosh pit, so I walked around the edges of that and tried to see them from there, and that was a cool vantage point. And then I saw their lights, and I was like, you know, I actually want to see what this looks like from the hill. So, you know, in between songs, I like sprinted up the hill and sat down there on one of the walls and watched from there, and that was really cool. And so what I liked about the Mumford & Sons concert was I got to see it from a bunch of different perspectives. And then at the end of that concert, they invited the Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros, who they'd become friends with. They all came on stage and sang The Chain. You know, you won't never break the chain. That one. And they were all together on the stage, and they were having so much fun. And it was a really great, that was the encore, that was the end of the encore, so that was a really great way to finish that night. So Imagine Dragons was on the last day. They were on Monday, on Labor Day I think it was, and they were supposed to be at 4, but the person after them canceled, so they actually waited to come on until 5. And me and my friend Katie, who's a really big fan as well, we had been there, the group before, and so there was just hour-long wait where we were, you know, like right up next to the front, but we were all just like smushed together, and you know, we didn't actually know they were going to come on that late, so we were just all waiting and watching them like set up and test everything a bunch of times. And that was fun, because it started to rain on us too a little bit, because we were like just barely, we were kind of under the overhang, but then it rained on our back, and sort of the wind blew it over on us, the rain, and so we got a little wet, but luckily my camera was waterproof. But when they eventually came on, I forgot about how sore my legs were, how tired I was, like, it was incredible. They were so into it. Imagine Dragons was probably, I didn't say this before, the most energetic band. The lead singer, okay, let me talk about them in turn. The keyboardist had this mohawk, and when he keyboarded, he just went up and down with his hair, and it just like, it was just sweaty, and it's just, he was just so into it. It was hilarious. And the bassist was over on the far right side of the stage, and he was just kind of getting into it by himself, and occasionally he'd walk over to the others and play with them. And the lead singer would come down like right up to the audience, like could have touched him, and that was really cool. At one point, he was a little bit to the right of me, but I could see, and he was like leaning into the crowd, and they were all like touching him while he was singing, and I could just see this one girl's hand, like he's standing here singing, and her hand just goes and like feels up the side of his face and just like rubs down. He's just like enjoying it, you know. It was really funny, you know, after he says like, oh, I'm just an average guy, you know, we're just average people, today's about you, like everyone else was just like, let me touch you. And one time when he got back on stage, part of his t-shirt was like missing the arm, like someone must have ripped that off or something. I don't know, like crazy fans. And a kind of funny story happened during the concert. I don't know if I'll explain it well enough. It might be like a you had to be there moment, but I'll try to explain it. So at one point in the concert, he says, you know, I saw some people, you know, standing up on shoulders and getting up to crowd surf, and I saw them fall, some of them fall, and we shouldn't let people fall. We're all family here, right? You know, let's hold them up. If someone gets up, let's hold them up. And that was really cool. And so at one point when he's singing, when he's standing down, like leaning into the audience, and we're all like right around him, a crowd surfer comes right up to him, and he grabs their hand and like pulls them out and helps the guards get them out. And that was really cool. The one guy, you should have seen his face. He was so excited. And then, you know, later, by the way, we had 3 crowd surfers pass over us. We were, you know, near the front, so that wasn't too much to be surprised, but like 3, like right where we were in one, you know, specific place. But anyway, back to the funny story. This other guy is crowd surfing right towards him, and he's in the audience leaning in again, the lead singer is, and the crowd surfer is coming closer and closer, and he's like holding out his hand. He's like, oh my god, I'm gonna touch him like the other guy. And right when he's like getting really close to the lead singer turns away and like walks back up to the stage, probably didn't see him, and the crowd surfer who's reaching, just like, he's like getting pulled out now, and he just makes his hand into a rock sign and just kind of falls down where you can't see. And it was really funny. The guy next to me was like, oh, rejected, and it was just kind of funny to see him in the last moment be like, oh, rock on. It's hard to explain, but it was one of the funniest things I saw there, when he just like, he was so close. Poor guy. was that yes, it was definitely possible to go to a music festival and stay completely sober and have a fantastic time. So I think I talked about everything that I wanted to talk about regarding Sasquatch, but overall, like I said, sometimes it's just really good to do something that might seem a little bit out of character for you. As long as it's safe and safe for other people, you might surprise yourself and really enjoy yourself doing something that you never imagined yourself doing before. And it's just a really good thing. So that's about it. Hopefully it won't be too choppy when I edit this. I didn't move around in this one, I just stayed in the same spot, so it'll be just like cut, cut, cut. And yeah. But you all have a good day, and go surprise yourself with something out of character, as long as it's safe. And enjoy life today. Bye! And now it's time for a nap. Oh yeah, something else I forgot to say? I have never seen so many porta potties in my life. Okay, best feels was Sigur Ros, best mosh pit and performers, Imagine Dragons, best exhilaration, Mumford Sons, best having fun from semi-far away, Vampire Weekend, and best time without knowing many songs but still being by the front, Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros, best cute guy, the tallest man on earth, he's really cute, and best light show, the XX. They had these lasers. I can't even describe them. They were like these flat lasers, so like when you looked up you could see them, and then they were like kind of sparkled and had like swirly clouds in them. It's it's hard to explain. Like I said before, and probably a million times. Burn. I keep saying it was really cool. Everything's really cool. Ah, I can't talk. Okay, that's probably... Sheepish Elbow Vlogs.